Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, State Farm, and Autotempest.com. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, Brian Robinson.
Hello, welcome to podcast number 182. I'm not John Davis, Brian Robinson, filling in for El Supremo this week. Sorry for all of you that were looking to hear from John, but he's on a well-deserved vacation. You're stuck with the B team this week. Helping me get through this is our over-the-edge reporter, Zach Maskell.
All hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Road test producer, Ben Davis.
C-plus team, thanks.
All hopped up on Royal Farms coffee. Greg Carlos. Not sure what you're hopped
I'm not.
up
I don't really get hopped up very often.
And video producer, editor, Joe Lago.
Not hopped. I guess I'm hopped up on life.
Attaboy, Joe.
I feel like I need a hat.
I'm hopped up on EMCs.
I feel out of place. I need a ball cap so I can fit in with the rest of the cool kids here.
Wow.
Your hair is spectacular. You don't need a hat.
First of all, you won't call them ball caps if you really want to fit in.
True.
Already starting off on the wrong foot.
Good point.
Looking for a
We
ball
should
cap.
definitely move on.
Man.
Okay, let's move on to our usual look at some recent road tests we've done. First one is a full-size SUV comparison that we recently did with our friends at Cars.com.
Why don't you tell us about those,
I
Brian?
went on that one, so yeah, I'll jump right in. Usual suspects, Chevrolet Tahoe and Ford Expedition, as well as a couple Asian contenders, Nissan Armada and Toyota Sequoia. No big surprise. The Ford Expedition's all new. They got the EcoBoost 3.5 liter in there. So that was the big winner. Maybe the big surprise to me was the Armada came in second. I'm not sure I agreed with that 100%. Mainly because they have a new Platinum Elite something or other interior that was just over the top. I mean, it put some other Infinities
I don't
to
like
shame.
the
So
wrinkly leather look on the door panels, though, of the Armada.
you don't have to check the wrinkly leather option. You don't if you don't
But
want.
you know what I'm talking about, right? Because the Infinity has that, too.
I would
It's
like
like
my
they got
iron
like
leather,
baggy leather.
iron, please.
Was it really good, though? Did
But
you
anyway,
like it?
to me, it was a little over the top.
It's definitely nice for that segment, I think. I just remembered, and again, these are all big SUVs, but having driven the Expedition and recently the Armada drives like a truck, man. That thing is big.
It's terrible.
The,
In a good way.
Yeah,
The Tahoe that we had the new Sport Package RST. I think we can get the 6.2 liter V8, which was phenomenal. We did some towing as part of the test, and it has the biggest engine. But when we were towing, we did a mileage loop too, and it got the best mileage of any of the four on the towing, just because that thing will pull anything and just like not even break a sweat. That Ford Expedition got really good mileage without towing anything, but with the trailer on it, it was working hard.
Is it cylinder deactivation in the Tahoe?
Yeah,
Does that
for sure.
usually kick in when you're towing?
Well, usually when you go into tow mode, it defaults that, so it stays in V8.
Right.
So most all the tow
So
modes
even
do
more
that.
impressive.
Yeah. No real surprise. Toyota Sequoia came in last. Ancient vehicle, hasn't been updated since it came out in 2008, I think. We were just trying to figure that out before we went on the air.
It
it's
looks
been a long
old.
time,
The
man.
long and the old tooth fairy.
Yeah, it's lots of super hard plastics.
What
that-
iPhone was out in the 08?
Which,
The
the
original
thing is,
the nav
The
screen.
original iPhone.
The nav screen is like smaller than most people's phones. It was like tiny in the dash. It was
and the
like-
thing was, like, we liked that SUV when it was new. It's not like it's a bad design. It's just old.
Yeah, correct.
And it'll run
doesn't have
forever.
any of the safety features that other vehicles have, and it just that and the Armada both to me, like I said, I kind of like the Tahoe the best myself just because it felt like a real truck, had no problem towing. Kind of fall more on the practical side, and that's the Tahoe and the Expedition both. I mean, when they had that trailer on there, it was like no big deal. You just hook up trailer and go. Hardly even know it's back there. Both the Armada and the Sequoia, yeah, they'll pull it, but they don't really enjoy it. They don't,
I noticed in your test you were complaining about the small side mirrors in the Tahoe, and they have to change something about that.
Yeah.
Across the board, in every vehicle, they're their mirrors are just the smallest they can get away with, it seems.
Yeah, that was like the only complaint I had about the vehicle because, man, I love that Tahoe.
Form over
Sounds
function.
good.
Yeah.
There's some, drive-by shots of the Tahoe, and that V8 sounds good too. Isn't there a special
I
exhaust
think it had a
system on
boiler
the
exhaust on it. Yeah, that comes with the RST package.
That's cool.
Suburban gets now.
Yeah. So anyway, again, Expedition, newest vehicle in the segment. Very nice interior, EcoBoost power, all around winner.
I don't think you can argue, really. It's a nice SUV.
Let's move on to something much more exciting. Audi TT RS, the highest performance TT we've had yet. Any comments?
Would you call it an R4 in the
Yeah,
road
I
test?
came up with that, and it sounded better in my head than when.
No, I
Then when
agree.
we
It
actually
does,
in the
description of
it does seem like a mini,
Yeah.
like R8 though, both in styling and just kind of the
that-
the image it projects.
That was exactly my first thought when I hopped in there, man. I was like, it's just a little baby R8. It was cool because it
It's
drove like one too.
sweet.
That thing was a blast.
Oh yeah, I drove it a little bit too, and I loved it. It's just, until I saw the sticker, but it's a sweet little car, and you're right. It does have a little bit of that kind of supercar feeling to it, which is cool.
Yeah. To me, it easily felt like it could have more, like it was purposely dialed back just to not step on Porsche's toes a little bit. A lot in the, especially through the cone course, the steering feel, throttle response, and brake pedal feel seemed purposely altered to not be as good as they could be in some strange way. To me.
Well,
You're a
part of that
conspiracy
is
theorist.
front engine versus
Yeah.
the Cayman mid engine. That's
True.
Immediately
It
going
was-
to give you more responsive handling.
Yeah, true story.
We did talk about that in the road
As far
test.
as Audis go, it seemed like it could have been a little sharper as well.
I kind of feel like maybe it could have been too. Like you mentioned the price tag as well.
Well, right. That's what we said in the road test. The road test, we're saying all this really nice stuff about we love it, and then we said, but you could get a Cayman for the same money.
Yeah,
and
I think
just
that's pretty much
No contest there.
the end note.
And it is based on the MQB architecture, which you think like that's the same thing that's under Golfs and Jettas and stuff.
yeah.
So,
And if you're talking Golf R, you got a little less horsepower there, but you still have all-wheel drive and stuff for a much lower price tag. And I don't know, they both look pretty aggressive.
Speaking of horsepower, 400 from the same 2.5 liter. It's always been floating around Audi, but it is a much newer version, all aluminum now. So that helps a lot. Do you still think Beetle when you look at it? Just the shape of it at all?
It doesn't look like it's. Yeah, I mean it's still.
get enough spoilers and stuff on it.
I wouldn't say Beetle, but if you've
got
always
Beetle
thought of the
shape to
TT
it,
as
though.
Beetle-esque, it's definitely not far off from shapes in the past. It looks, yeah.
But a compliment, I guess, from the Beetle is that it actually has a lot of space inside. So it's a small car
does,
for
yeah.
sure when you see it outside, but you get in and it's really, you forget how small it really is. There's a ton of space inside, ton of tech inside. You get the virtual cockpit. The problem with this specific usage of virtual cockpit is that the backup camera is in the gauges.
Yeah.
So when you're cranking the wheel at any angle and trying to look at the backup camera, you can't really see what you're supposed
That
to
was
see.
strange.
So that's a problem.
I like how you sit real deep in it and the doors come up real high like a popped collar on a members only jacket. You look over and the door's right there at your shoulder level.
I actually hated that part of
Can't
it.
put your arm on it, right?
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
my biggest complaint. I can't
drive like
I can't drive like Dave on the track anymore.
It's like
but-
you're in Stallone's 50 Merc from Cobra with a match in your mouth.
But that's all for safety. I felt safe in it.
Safety first.
It was pretty inside, too.
And it was fast.
I like the
we
color.
beat Audi's estimated 0 to 60 time. Theirs
We
was
usually
like
do
3.5.
that.
and
Audi's
we were-
always
They're pretty conservative with their estimates. But
They try to
all in
make you
all,
feel good.
everyone would rather have a Cayman.
Yep.
see.
I might even rather have a Golf R.
It kind of kept me wanting more. I mean, it was just tons of fun, but
For practicality, sure, Golf R. Sorry to just go over.
Strictly for the Audi
nah,
fans.
I mean, that's pretty much what I'm going towards, yeah.
All right, then. Zach, since you're here with us today,
Hey,
why don't you tell us a little bit about the Ford F-150 diesel that you have recently
cool.
driven?
Denver, Colorado. It was raining, it was snowing, it was wet. But we got to test out the first ever Power Stroke. Little
In
baby.
the F-150.
In the F-150.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much for that.
You would have gotten jumped on.
Yeah. I shouldn't
People
go
were
anywhere
firing off
without
stuff on the
super
internet
vision.
already, man.
Yeah, what are you thinking, man?
Diesel motor.
Idiot.
3-liter V6 turbo. I love these little diesels, man. They're really cool. 440 pound-feet of torque, and it gets moving, absolutely. The main thing that I realized, I was mainly focused on towing. They took us off-road. It went through a bunch of mud, 25 minutes outside of Denver. So that was cool. But anyway, towing-wise, first all through the gears, it was just really smooth, and it would get off the line quick. It's there, but it's not. It's not like pulling you back or anything like that.
How many gears is that ripping through? Is that the 10-speed?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And every once in a while, before I forget, there was some clunkiness going on there. So I don't really know what's going on with that. But going up hills, you got to make sure you keep your momentum up. Otherwise, you're not really going to gain speed, but you're not going to lose any either. It just struggles a little bit going up those hills. So I guess for somebody that's going to be doing it every day, you might think twice. But if you're a guy driving to work during the week and you want to get 30 miles per gallon in the 2x4, you can do that. So
yeah, similar to the diesel and the Ram. It's not you can't max tow with it. The max towing still comes with the 5-liter V8,
right,
which is kind of surprising to me. But.
And we were at 5,500 pounds horse trailer, and I really wouldn't want to go too much higher than that.
That's pretty light for a horse trailer. Pretty small trailer.
I think it's rated at like 10 plus, right?
Yeah. Well, for the fleet trucks, it's 11,400. A little bit less than that for us peons. But I don't know. Going a little bit above that, probably no problem. But I wouldn't push it.
Not
personally.
daily, anyway.
No. But 18. I wrote it down because I know I forget. 18 miles in the city, 25 on the highway, 21 combined for the 4-wheel drive. The 30 miles per gallon thing's pretty cool, but are a lot of people buying rear-wheel drive?
I guess if you're not in the snow belt.
In the South for sure. A lot of people,
Well, I definitely think that's something to be proud of. I did a quick little mileage loop, and I actually think you could get above 30. So I'm curious to see what people start saying that they get with it.
Yeah.
Is that if you were to buy an F-150 right now, would you check that box? Considering it costs $4,000.
$4,000 more dollars over it. And the diesel starts in the Lariat, which is $42,410.
So you can't get it on the cheaper
dollars
trims.
to start, correct. You got to start there and then add the $4,000 on top of that.
You
So
probably don't get a branded dash like you do in the Ram 1500.
You have to do it yourself.
I can't let that go.
But at the press event, they did have Ford branded in our hot dog buns, so that was pretty sweet.
Wow.
You just borrow that and put it in the dash.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm going to take a picture of that, but I forgot. Unfortunately. But, yeah, cool truck. Awesome engine. I like it a lot. But I guess, it all depends on what you're doing. And then when you're at that price point, you might be considering something else.
Could you tune it and roll coal? And
I would never roll coal.
Something?
I'm sure you could
I
do
think
it.
that's illegal in some
Asking for
states
a
now,
friend.
right?
I think Maryland might have made that
Colorado.
I
illegal.
think Maryland passed a law
Good
that
move,
makes
Maryland.
rolling coal legal.
Yeah, we support that law.
All those diesels have like easy,
Tunes.
tunes that give you like 200 more pound-feet of torque. So I imagine
Yeah,
it wouldn't
that's a
be
good point.
problem. Yeah.
I guess that is one
Just
of the
hope you don't
benefits
care
of-
about your manufacturer warranty.
True.
So what else have you been up to when you're not driving cool F-150s
When
in
I'm
Colorado?
not driving cool F-150s, I'm driving cool, restored Land Rover Defenders that are imported from Europe. We were down in Kissimmee, Florida. I had an issue with that word, by the way.
I thought it was
Kissimmee.
Kissimmee. Yeah.
Which one do you think it is?
Kissimmee. Because
Kissimmee.
that's how they say it, right?
I don't know. I
It's
can't even
whatever
remember right now
whoever
which
said
one
it
was.
first.
Just say that city outside of
So
Orlando.
anyway, I hope I said it correctly on TV, but if not, whatever.
We'll file
let
it
us
with your
know.
Power
Let
Stroke
us
hate
know.
mail.
So, we did an over-the-edge story down there. It's called East Coast Defender. These guys grew up in Britain, and they were best friends. The one guy moved to the States. He brought over 2 Land Rovers. He quickly sold them. He figured out he was up to something. These guys had some beers together, and they said, hey, why don't we just restore Land Rovers and sell them to people? So they made it a big thing, and now they've got a bunch of employees. They did $8 million in sales, I think. They started
bam.
at $200,000. So I think these cost $180,000 to $300,000. So the one that I drove was Kent Bazemore. He's an NBA player. Couldn't tell you who he plays for, but I got to drive his Defender LS3 Corvette under the hood. Really cool looking truck. I mean,
whole Corvette, huh?
So they're not just restored; they're
modded.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they all? Do they all have like an American V8 in them? Or?
Most of them have Chevys. They pretty much do Chevy V8s, whether it's a 5.3 liter from Silverado, LS1, LS3. That's pretty much what they're going with because the engines that they came with were so anemic. It's like 80 horsepower or something. So it just would not work right now.
Duramax.
Are they the 90s or the 110s?
Power
like
stroke.
long wheelbase?
They do 90s. They do the 110s. That's the bread and butter of them. But, I'm sure they do special orders.
I saw a shot from your segment, the jump seats in the back, like the safari seats or whatever they call them. They had diamond stitched leather and all kinds of fancy stuff. So they keep the original, I guess it's a choice, but you can keep the original seating pattern, but then get like amazing, quilted leather on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you're going in to buy a Bentley, very bespoke. You sit there, you choose every single thing that you want. You flip through a magazine, and you can get something very, very similar to somebody else's truck, but they'll never let you get something that's exactly the same. So every single one's completely different. They bring them over. They check out the chassis. If they can reuse it, they will spray it and this and that. If it's completely rotted out, they'll do another one. The main thing that people are buying here is the story of the truck. Was it on a farm? They try to get trucks that have a lot of records to go with them. And because they did sell them here for a very short period.
Yeah, I remember when I first started working here, we had
that white one, yeah.
Oh, we had a red and white Defender 90.
Was that an exciting time when we got
when I
the
first
Defender?
started? Everything was black and white, and there was no cell phones. Man, you wouldn't have liked it. Are these
That's
things?
still your life, Robinson. Everything black and white, no cell
Got a
phone.
flip phone.
The word
Were
extreme
these things
didn't even exist.
were they all like donked out with like 20-inch rims and stuff, or were they still off-road, rigs?
The ones that were there were actually off-road capable looking rigs. You get inside of them and it's still got a very, it just feels like you're driving something that's meant to go off-road. The suspension's like off-road ready. Driving it on the street, it's very, very obvious. You got to make sure that you don't do any sudden movements or anything, like flip the thing.
Very agricultural.
That's cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah, but the pedals in there is weird. It took me, as soon as I got in it, I had to pull out of this really tight spot and make a left turn because we were going in the woods to get some drive-bys of it. And I'm pulling out, and the brake is where a clutch would be, and the gas is where the brake would be. Yeah. So I almost biffed it in front of everybody, everybody there that was watching me take off in this $3,000.
Are they right-hand drive, or what's the?
All left-hand drive. I think they said they might have done one right-hand drive, but
the pedals are in the wrong place.
Everybody wants left-hand drives. No, it's just where they are in the pedal box. They're just in an awkward position.
So they're still in the correct order. They're just in a different location.
Yeah, I mean everything is, but they're just moved over.
Just a little catty wampus.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they're all automatics. Do they use a GM transmission then to go with the GM motor?
All autos, and yeah, they do. I think they all swap over. But no, I mean, really cool looking stuff. I wouldn't mind a couple of them being in my garage. Would I ever pay the price for them? I don't know about that.
Yeah, would you buy one of those, or what was that? That AMG 4x4 squared we had? Yeah.
G-Wagon.
I'd do that. That's an awesome rig for the money, man.
Yeah, they also told me the main reason that they're doing what they do is they don't want to blend in with all the LR4s and the G-Wagons and stuff like that. These are people that want to be different. I was like, I don't really, I wouldn't want to daily drive this thing. And he was like, oh, some people do. I was like, I wouldn't really want to daily drive one.
Suspension's not there?
I don't know, man. It's a lot going on. You got to think when you're driving.
They're more like tractors than cars.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I'm looking for.
Most British things are.
But very clean. I mean, backup cameras, wireless charging, expensive leather. It had a Momo steering wheel on Kent Bazemore's. Really cool stuff. They have their own paint shop. They have, I can't remember how many employees. They got a few dozen employees. They have this huge building called the Rover Dome. And, each door that you go through in this business park is big paint booth and where they do all the motors, where they do tear down. So it's really cool to be there and check everything out. And, these guys were working hard. They seem busy.
Sounds interesting. Can't wait to see it.
They got a bunch of high-end clients. You could tell.
8 million
Waiting
a year.
lists too.
I don't know.
Probably
so.
We'll just say yes.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go yes.
I'd go for a Singer.
Like it.
Sounds cool as that sounds. I think I'd go Singer Porsche if I had the money.
I don't think those are a lot more expensive than that, though, aren't they?
How much?
I think that's somewhat comparable because it starts at like 180 and goes up to 300.
Oh, yeah. You could probably get... I'd have to recheck the prices, but
Right.
Singers
Thought they
are
were like
probably more
6,
expensive.
7, 8.
But,
You can get back to us on the next podcast with that one.
yeah.
Singers.
Sorry we're wasting
Look 'em
Bob
up.
That could be a
Robinson's
wrap.
time.
Let's move on to our viewer question from John. I'm assuming it's not John Davis emailing us from wherever he's at right now, but
No, I
just-
redact
oh.
the last names for security purposes.
I got you. Probably a good thing.
We should get a phone-in question with a voice changer.
Yeah.
I want to know what car to buy.
Yeah.
John wants to know, he watches every week, and he sure does enjoy our show. Thank you for that, John. Uncle John, I should say. My question is, what sports car or sporty car would you recommend that gets good gas mileage, approximately in the high 20s, low 30s, or better?
We all probably have our favorites. I'm going to go ahead and say GTI.
I was going to say, everybody, I was thinking Miata would
That's
be the
where I
answer.
thought you wanted to
Everybody's
go
gonna
for
The
it.
answer.
answer is always Miata. I
No
also
matter what the question is.
I also thought I couldn't remember what the Toyota 86 got in fuel economy, but you got to think it's probably in the mid 20s, right?
Yeah, that thing had a high it tacked high. You're
Very
doing
touchy.
80 miles an
And
hour
that-
at $4,000
Yeah,
on the
you're
highway.
right.
That flat 4 is not the most efficient engine either, but it's probably mid 20s.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely fun.
Jetta, you could throw in there too. I think it's. But if you got the GLI, which will eventually come out, I'm sure you're still getting mid to high.
What about
20s.
the Fiat 500 Abarth?
Oh,
That
that's
is fun.
But
Yeah,
you can
I
snap
enjoy
up a
That's
Fiesta
definitely
or a
low 30s,
Focus
bro.
before it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Fiesta, you're right.
Fiesta ST, yeah, that'd be cool.
That was a lot of fun.
even Camaro and Mustang
Get the
with the
EcoBoost
turbo
Mustang.
force.
Yeah, the
I was going
Turbo
to say, I
4
was
wouldn't
waiting
be
to see if
bad.
somebody would mention EcoBoost Mustang. That's one of
That
our
gets right at
well-liked
30s.
cars.
See,
I think-
I haven't driven a Camaro Ford Turbo 4 yet.
No.
Would love to, but we've driven the Mustang, so I'd have to defer to the Mustang just because that's the only Turbo 4 I've driven.
Well, it depends on how much money he has. Don't the base Cayman and Boxster get like high 20s? I know they're not like,
No,
eco-minded
I think they're like
cars.
mid 20s.
Yeah, high 20s is pretty remarkable for a sporty car, really.
Well, John, there's a few ideas for you. Anybody else have any more?
Miata's always the answer.
That's always the answer, no matter what the
Maybe
question
the new
is.
Corolla hatchback coming out.
I like that Miata we have outside. That green color, BBSs, car seats.
Now you're gonna have to put a picture of that on here.
That's all right. I got a picture of it.
Okay.
If you're watching the video podcast,
Get an i8.
I was going to say La Ferrari or any
that is
hybrid
true.
supercar.
And how much is
pure
a
electric
used
engine.
off
I don't
lease
know what they're getting
i8?
in gas mileage,
How
though.
much can you get a used i8 for? BMW.
Be worth it.
Anyone have a rant or rave?
I guess I have kind of rave. You were talking about Singer Porsches, which are the extremely expensified, modified, restored, air cooled. Yeah. There was an article in there's an article in Haggerty this week where a guy took a pretty rotted out old 60s 70s 911 and got an EV conversion on it, and it was an all electric 911. Now he said they put new brakes and brakes and suspension out of a newer Porsche, but the whole powertrain was EV, and I thought that they might be onto something.
There's
there.
an EV lump you can get for air-cooled Beetles, too, that slaps right in the back with a battery pack up front. It's pretty wild.
Right, and so I know that might be sacrilegious to some guys, but I don't know. I like the
cool,
idea
man.
of giving of EV engine swaps for old cars like that,
Especially if you see one plugged at, the front
right,
rows.
right. You're at Whole Foods, and there's a
56
70s 911
oval window drop cow bug with a slider roof.
or a
plugged in.
Carmen Ghia.
Oh, stop it now.
So anyways, though, I'm raving about that. I like the idea of
I'd wear that ball cap.
EV converted. Yeah, exactly. Of EV converted old cars. I don't think it's like sacrilegious or anything. I mean, I don't know if you're going to
Would
convince.
you drive an EV Javelin?
I would if it was fast. I mean, if it was fast enough.
Joe, you would drive it.
You would 100% drive it. You're not lying to yourself.
If it had no motor, you'd still sit in it.
Be like the Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That might be the way of the future for hot rodding.
It would be cool.
Battery-powered
It's a neat idea.
retrofits.
And the thing is, if it's a collector car, you don't need to have like a 300 or 200 mile range because what? You're taking it to a show and you're taking it back home. You're not going to be commuting in a classic car probably. So, I think you could get away. I think 150 miles to a charge would be more than enough for a classic
safety,
car.
though, I'm thinking about with putting a battery in there, and then if you were to get into an accident with it and all that heavy metal,
Well, not to mention
steel smashing through
like
it.
emergency responders
I mean, let's be
wouldn't
real,
know
though.
that you're electrified.
Let's be
True,
real.
You have to
yeah.
figure out how to tell them
That's
that.
it. I don't like this idea
You
anymore.
wreck a 63
tag.
Bug, you're going to be dead whether it's gas powered or electric powered.
That's a
So,
solid point.
Yeah, but you don't want it to kill other people.
Oh, well. I guess you're.
That's the second.
I still like the
great.
idea.
Let's just finish this
Yeah,
podcast
really.
before
So
more
we're
people
raving
die.
about EV cars and how they can potentially kill you.
Do you wish that Turbo S had an exhaust button?
Yes.
All right.
Well, if you just put it in the Sport Plus,
I mean, yeah, you hear it open up, but I want more. Like, I want an extra.
you could tell there's like the dead button for it. It could be so
That
equipped.
blow-off valve is loud when you got the top down.
That intake draw gets pretty loud too. It's
The
pretty
first time I
awesome.
heard it, I thought I broke something. All right, we're good.
doing drive-bys, I think it's Dave coming across the walkie, saying stuff to me, but it's the intake or the turbo blowing off.
Just end the
We
podcast.
got to end this right now.
Your host
we
duties.
all forgot we were in a podcast there for a minute, but we will close it now. Thanking our audio engineer, Jim Bigwood, our
Thank you,
podcast
Jim.
creator, Bob Mixter,
Thank you, Bob.
and of course, producer Joe Lago.
Joe Ligo.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and check us out all the usual places, including all of our social media outposts. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, State Farm, and Autotempest.com. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.